Hey, what's up guys, it's FitDread, and I'm going to make a little video here. This is the Framework 13. This is a new laptop that I got. 13-inch little laptop, pretty happy with it so far. But I wanted to make a little video. This is actually a two-part video because in part one, you have the hardware to talk about. In part two, you have the software to talk about. Now, they're definitely decoupled in this case. It's not like when you buy a MacBook and when you review the product of a MacBook, you're reviewing the hardware and the software combined. For this one, it's like two different, completely different, I won't say even companies, but two different things responsible, right? Framework themselves aren't responsible for much except for the hardware. So I have to review the Framework laptop as a device that they've built and then, talk about that purely by itself because they are in no fault to the issues with the software. That's my fault because I decided to go full Linux with this laptop. In fact, that's why I bought it. I bought it because I already have a MacBook, I already have Windows machines, but I don't really have any Linux desktop machines. And yeah, you can fire one up in a VM and stuff, but I wanted a device that was like, that lived and breathed Linux. I thought about buying like a little mini PC, putting Linux on it. I thought about, using the Steam Deck more, but like the truth is I wanted something that I could, really experiment with Linux on in the desktop environment, and that's what this is designed to do. So I ended up picking this, and the reason I picked it was because it has pretty great support for Linux out of the box. Not a lot of companies when they, make their new laptops or whatever, they don't really support like everything out of the box like a Framework laptop does. These guys build these laptops and they already have like full Ubuntu Linux support right out the gate, right? So they kind of sell you this saying, this has Linux support. Now and the fact is I can pick a couple supported distros, but I went with one that is one of the hard modes of Linux, and I went straight into Arch Linux. That's right, guys. I use Arch, by the way. And the fact is, I've been spending, let's see, I got this on Thursday or whatever, and it is now Monday. So I've basically nonstop been tweaking this, tuning this, and making it work and figuring out the intricacies of Linux. So that's going to be part two. So let's roll into part one, the hardware. A small little laptop, I think that I'd prefer a 14-inch, but for a 13, it's pretty good. Pretty boring looking. If I do say so myself. The design kind of exudes MacBook energy, but just a little bit last generation, if that makes any sense. The new MacBooks with their super rounded and deliberate edges in their hardware, it's just so much better than this, I'd say, with its modern design. But this isn't bad. This is a fully metal laptop. It looks pretty good. It's not too heavy or anything. Just kind of looking at the exterior. You can see on the bottom here, you have the 4 ports, or the auxiliary ports here. I have an HDMI and USB-C and a headphone jack on that side. And then on this side, I got a USB-C and a fat USB normal or whatever, okay? So I was like, yeah, let's get a little bit of variety here. Really, I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of used to just full USB-Cs. I got dongles, you know what I'm saying? I got dongles. I don't really need like this crazy amount of ports like a lot of people that complain, like, oh, my laptop's only got USB-C. I got dongles now. And honestly, I like dongles. I call me crazy. I like dongles, okay? It's kind of like whenever I need something, dongle, okay? Now with this, one of the weird things about the Framework, I mean, it's cool. You can swap in these modules, and by the way, they are not easy to swap out. Like, you got a little lock-on-lock button, but if I do this, like, I'm going to have to, like, really get in on it and pull. It comes out. These ports are just very tight. Okay, there's one of my little module boys. You can see USB-C, and then on the bottom, it's nothing fancy. But you literally just slide these guys in. So, like, let me just do it on camera. You just slide it in. Click, done. Now, what I will say is the locking mechanism, I wish it was a little bit more robust because on this side, I've had my USB-C, like I'd plug it in, and then like I'm like, okay, we're chilling. And actually, that's kind of like a tough connection, believe it or not. I don't know if it's the cable, the device or the combination of the two, but that's pretty freaking solid. Now, I've pulled out the entire port, and that might have been my fault too. It might have just been like a little bit weak, but I noticed, you know, I couldn't get it out. Another thing is these ports, they're not all the same. So like, I know that sounds a little bit weird, but what I mean is some of these ports don't support certain modules. And I didn't know that out of the box. So what I did originally was I had, I noticed, I think they said the back ports, like the port configuration is definitely weird. HDMI. I originally had HDMI right here, and it would just not work. And I looked online, and it's literally the one port on this laptop that an HDMI module will not put out a display. Okay, so I just swapped these two, and now my HDMI out works just fine. What the hell? So I didn't know that. Another thing is, like, putting Arch Linux on this, I plugged in my USB, because I had a thumb drive, put Arch on it, plugged it in, wouldn't detect in the boot order. I'm like, what? What's going on? I use a dongle, plug it in my USB-C, plug the thumb drive into my dongle, bam, shows up in my boot menu. That's weird. So I don't know what the deal with that is. And the thing is, this USB port is fine, by the way, because in Linux, like, I was able to plug stuff into it and get USB-A connectivity. So yeah, I don't know what the deal with that is. But my point is, you know, not all ports are equal here. And that's a little bit confusing for somebody that just thought, I can buy 4 modules. Shit, I thought, like, if you wanted to, you could throw 4 HDMI modules in it. That'd be wild. Why would you do that? You couldn't charge the laptop, because that's literally, by the way, you can USB-C charge, as far as I know. Hold on, I have a little infograph here. Yeah, on every port. So if you put USB-C on every port, which honestly, not a bad idea for someone like me that is living the dongle life already. That's a crappy dongle, by the way. I have other dongles. I have dongles for dongles. Now, I might just do 4 USB-C ports because, you know, then I'm kind of just fine, you know. But anyway, that's the hardware in a nutshell. When you buy it, you got to build it. So I don't have really video of me doing so, but I will say it's extremely easy. I'm somebody that's done a DIY 3D printer with 3D printer build instructions, and that was difficult. That was an all-day affair. For this, I literally bought this without memory and without an SSD, and I went online, bought my own memory kit, 2 sticks, 2 little boys, and a NVMe SSD, like a 990 Pro from Samsung. Bam. And now I got a 2 terabyte 990 Pro in here. I would like 2 NVMe SSDs in this, but there is only 1. If you get the Framework 16, I'm pretty sure you can get the 2. What I really want is a Framework 14 with 2 NVMe SSDs, and then I'd be like Gucci, you know what I'm saying? And an OLED display. That's another thing. So we're going to get into the interior now. So here is the interior. And by the way, I ended up buying it with the clear bezel. So you can see my bezel on my display is kind of like transparent. You see that? Pretty cool, right? I love it. You're going to see my Wii background. That's a little bit spoiler for part 2, but it's neat. Like, you can't really tell when it's shut other than like the back. You can see the transparent, don't look at my face camera. See that transparent? Like, cool, right? It's kind of like, it's got a little bit of that like DIY kind of feel to it, right? It's got that like, I'm a hacker man feel, but it's got that like MacBook feel at the same time. It's kind of an interesting little hybrid. So it's like, I like to do DIY stuff, but I like to be fancy at the same time. That's the kind of vibe I got from this. Okay, interior wise, obviously your trackpad's not going to win any awards. I'd say, like, as far as its tracking is concerned, it's pretty good. The only thing I don't like is the physical clicking. It's kind of like hard to click at the top, easy at the bottom, so it's like one of those hinged clicks. It's not bad, but the click isn't as nice as like a MacBook, which has the I was going to say emulated. It's like the it's got the taptic feedback, right? So it's pretty interesting. I think it's acceptable, but it's not the trackpad, you know, it's fine. Its size is good. Like, I think it's okay. It's fine. The keyboard is actually very good. I've done a lot of typing on this over the past, like, I don't know, a lot of days since last Thursday, so like 5 days or so. Not really. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then today's the 5th day. So really, like, just say 4 days on the round. But the keyboard I've been playing with, it's good. I love this keyboard, actually. I think it feels great. I can be fast on it. Like, if I had to compare it to a MacBook keyboard, I'd say it's, I don't know, MacBook's probably better, but that's probably just my inherent bias. I would say this is an acceptable keyboard. This is a pretty standard layout. You can get it in different keyboard, like, you can buy different top plates that have different keyboards on it, and some of them are like no numbers or no symbols. You can get just black keys, or you can get the like transparent keys. I thought that would be really neat, but I need to see the keys. Like, let's be realistic. For productivity, I need to see where the keys are. I wish I was elite hacker enough to know where every key is all the time, but sometimes I get lost and I gotta look and see where my hands are at. That's a noob issue. That's a skill issue. But this is ultimately the more convenient product. I can always go and buy. That's the thing. I can always go buy new stuff. If I want a new keyboard layout, I could buy a different one. If I want a new bezel, I could buy it. That's really cool. Another thing I've done is I've limited the battery to 90% charge. They say if you use your laptop plugged in a lot, which I do, then you might want to set your battery to be like 60% max. That way it can stay healthy. And I think that's pretty interesting. Novel idea. I just set it to 90 just to give it a little bit of breathing room. But I might adjust it if I find that I use it a lot plugged in. But we'll see. We'll see. The idea is it's a laptop, so I want to be able to take it and be mobile with it as well. So, yeah, fingerprint reader. There is a fingerprint reader here. Pretty standard fingy boy. It works. I have it working on Linux. In fact, I can show you right now. So if I hit enter, hold on. Maybe I can't show you. Oh, there it is. And then I hit enter, and then I can just finger. Let me see. It's going to work. Boop. I'm in. And we'll get into the software in a bit. But yeah, bam, I'm in, and I can put it to sleep. Bam, we asleep. Okay? Good laptop. I think it's a good size. Like I said, 13-inch. For me, I wanted something... it kind of... I even though I'd prefer like a main laptop to be 14 or greater, like 16 is too big. 14 is like a sweet spot. I think the MacBook Pro 14 is like honestly the sweet spot size. But this is a pretty good little portable hacker. You know what I mean? That's what I like about it. It's kind of like, it's not really my 14. I think I could do a lot more work on the 14 or at the desktop. But this is a pretty nice little device, and I think it'll be really solid. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about speakers. So they are downward firing speakers, and they're not great. You can't really beat like a MacBook. You can't really beat some of the more modern Windows laptops that are actually getting better, getting closer to MacBooks in sound quality, but still can't really reach it. I'd say that these are acceptable speakers. They get plenty loud, but they're not really performers. Okay. Yeah, and as far as heat, let's talk about heat. It does get warm during intense tasks, compiling software, which I've been doing over the past couple days. Yeah, it doesn't really get warm, but the fan spins up, and there is one fan, and it exhausts, and that is it. So it can definitely be spin up and be loud. I would say not offensively loud. I have offensively loud laptops, like a nearly 10-year-old Razer Blade. That thing is like insanely loud. This doesn't get that loud because there's a Ryzen chip in it, like a Ryzen whatever. And it's like one of the more modern ones that are kind of like the one that's in the ROG Ally. So it's pretty decent as far as like performance per watt and stuff. That's at least from what I've experienced. It can, like I said, the fan can kick on, but for the most part, it's a silent boy. If I'm just doing like normal stuff, it's pretty quiet. I will say that if I'm playing like a 4K video, the fan will ramp. So that is something that I was like, okay, maybe I'm not using my hardware decoding, You know, I was like, maybe the hardware decoding is not working. Maybe this is a software problem. You know, we'll get into that more. But my point is, like, I was able to get the fans to ramp during certain tasks, at least, because that's a little bit of a, it's not really a hardware problem. The fan works the way the fan's supposed to work. So that might be a software issue on my part. Anyway, that's pretty much part one. I'd say that it's a great little laptop. It doesn't feel cheap. You know, I thought maybe it would feel cheap because of some of the things that people have said online. I think it feels fine. I think that I would like it to look a bit nicer. I don't think this is like the prettiest. You know, like the way the ports are, they don't really line up. It kind of reminds me of a Tesla a little bit, how there's panel gaps, you know what I mean? You kind of get like some panel gap situation here with this laptop, but it's not bad. I'd say fit and finish. It feels good, you know? It gets the job done. You know, quit trying to look at me and my fingers. I'm trying to get to focus in the right place. But yeah, pretty happy with this laptop. So let's get into part two, the software. And for this, I'm going to actually plug it up to my monitor and then we'll go from there. So be right back. All right, guys, welcome. This is my login screen. So obviously I got the Weeb shit. You know, that's what I'm going to do right now is, you got to start with the Weeb shit. You can dial it down, dial it up, you know, to your preference. But this is where I'm at right now. Got my little animated. And this is a video background. So I can just hit, let's see, an enter. And then I can look. I can log in with my password. Or I can log in with my fingerprint. It's up to me. And then now things get a little bit weird. So the problem I have right now is if I want to record in... Like 4K is a little bit much for this output. I'm not able to get 60 FPS. So what I have to do is output in something like 1080p. So let me get that. All right, here we are at the login screen. So a couple things to notice. This is fully custom. Okay, Arch Linux. I got my Weeb backgrounds. I got a button up here I can click to cycle between them. You know what I'm saying? Got my AI generated waifus. You know what I'm saying? On tap. So I can keep clicking it until I find one that I'm feeling. You know what I'm saying? Get a little cyborg woman. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I got a bunch. You know what I'm saying? I got some generated waifus. But that's not the point of this video. The point is that I have a very customized tiling window manager. Okay? Like, I can just keep pumping out these terminals. So, basically, what we're looking at here is... and here's the thing. You know, you probably aren't used to using a tiling window manager. You're probably used to, like, how Windows works, I guess, right? I can do stuff like create tiles. Everything's tiled by default, right? Like, this is a tile. I have it untiled right now, but I can tile it back again. So if I bring up another thing like a window over here, this is tiled. This is not tiled, so it's floating. It's always going to be on top, and then I can... So at any time, I can just grab something, float it. I can swap things around like this. I like the animations. If I got like two things, now I can kind of do this, and it kind of like auto figures itself out. Like I said, I can undo this. I can grab it, so now it's floating. I can do some cool stuff like, you know, okay, now it's over there, and then I can... Hold on, there's hotkeys for everything, so I gotta remember what they are, right? That's the you can full screen stuff. So if I want to completely full screen stuff, right? You can do that. So I have no idea how I made this this size. You see how like the edges are like fat? How did I do that? I don't know. So there's like, this is one thing that I'm learning about the... You can hear my laptop speakers freaking out. I have to like figure out what my hotkeys are. Okay, so there we go. I can resize the... so you can kind of like resize it, right? So you can resize the tile. So I had a button, some arrow keys, and I can resize it. And then I can still move it by dragging it like this. And there's probably a hotkey to get it to move as well. But yeah, and then I can close things like this. Oh, you know what? I think I did it. I think I did this, which is... It's like a pseudo tile mode where it can be like floating in the middle like this. So yeah, that's what I was. I was in that. And then I can say like, I got like a neo fetch, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody's got to do a neo fetch. I got my waifu, custom Arch Linux waifu background. Oh yeah, and you can see there's transparency on everything. You can also switch between windows. I don't have anything, but like I could have a Firefox up like this, and then like kind of like Mac OS, I can switch between stuff. I can move stuff between windows like this. Like I could switch between windows like this. I could put like I also have this where I can say like I want to launch Thunderbird, which is my mail client. Look at my fitdread.com email. And I could pull over here and pull up Element. Got my Element up here. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty cool the way the tiling can work. Like I said, I can grab this and then you can kind of grab and squish the windows. So I really like the way the tiling works. In fact, I find it pretty interesting. There's some quirks with it. Like for example, if I'm I'm starting a new session here and I'm chilling and then I want to pull something up, I could pull up one of these windows or I could close it. If I pull up a terminal, it'll like kind of auto size things. You can also kind of say I want to like resize this. I can like make this one small and this one big, and it'll automatically scale the windows. You can see in that way. So if I got like, B top up, and this is something that like, whoops, what did I, terminal too small? It didn't like that. Too big, too small. What did this button do? That did, oh, maybe that resets it. Okay, yeah. So I can like resize the terminal, and then I can grab stuff. So it's really cool. Like the way that the desktop is working. So I like this, and I can just close it, reopen it. Yeah, it looks like because I can, what I can do is I could be like, all right, I'm gonna make this small, and I can reset it. Okay, but yeah, this is pretty much how it works. Now let's talk about the top bar. This is called Waybar. Waybar is pretty neat. I have like everything. I used somebody's theme, which, it had stuff like it wanted Waybar. I wanted all these dependencies to make the theme work. So I installed some stuff. You can see that, I got 80% of my hard drive left. This is like my memory and my CPU usage and stuff like that. If I pull this up, shoot, hold on. If I pull this up here, let me get out of my, just make it big. You can see the Ryzen 7840U and stuff, kind of just going. And yeah, this is pretty much the machine. But at the top here, you can see that I have, it shows you like your Wi-Fi stuff. I know that this is crazy to talk about because you wouldn't even talk about this on Mac OS, but all these things had to be set up. This battery indicator had to be set up. This had to be set up. The audio mute and unmute stuff. I had to put the key binds in place for all this stuff because if you go to like the hyperlink config directory, there's configs for everything. So that like for this case, it's the key binds config, and this is where like every key is like defined. All my like keyboard keys for play, pause, mute, unmute, increase volume, decrease volume, increase the screen brightness, decrease the screen brightness. You can see I have it set to 5% increments per press. Everything. I have a keybind to disable my my laptop's monitor when I have it like say I have it plugged into an external display like I do right now. I have a hotkey where I had it set to mirror, but it was a little bit goofy. I had to basically do this where I plug in the display into an external display, then I hit the button and it turns off my laptop's display, and I can hit another button and bring it back. So it's pretty interesting. The super button's basically the Windows button. I wish I could it's basically everything I do in the tiling window manager is going to be probably holding super shift, super alt, super control. Like it does. These are all the keybinds for all the crazy actions. Switching between workspaces is all holding super and then hitting a number. You can also do super alt and do like up, down. I wanted to do 3-finger swipe, but I do not know how to do that. You can bind mouse bindings. But if I could figure out how to do a 3-finger swipe so I could do it like Mac OS between workspaces, that would be sweet. But that is not what we have. That is not what we have right now. But yeah, there's everything's a config. Like if you go to the hyper, so let me just talk about Hyperland is what I'm on right now. Just to go over kind of what I'm using. I'm using the Hyperland desktop environment, tiling window manager is what this is. And I'm doing it because it is the very fashionable thing to do. People are on Hyperland. There's a whole bunch of different tiling window managers or Windows managers in general. Like you have GNOME and KDE, which are your popular ones. But then, like for me, I was like, nah, dude, I want to be a lead hacker and use a tiling window manager. Full stop. So that's where using Hyperland was the key. And then also Wayland. I'm using Wayland as my, I think they call it the compositor, which is like what renders the, desktop environment. Some people use X11. There's a lot of stuff that I'm learning. I'm not going to get into it here, but let's talk about gaming. So Steam. So you can see I have two different Steams here. One's GameScope and one's Runtime. So if I say Steam Runtime, it's going to just launch. And you see how it was weird? Just now it like went off to the side. I have no idea where it is. Is it coming? There it is. Boom. Okay. So Steam's working just fine. Do I want to survey? I'm actually going to say yes, because I want people to know that I want them to see I'm gaming on Linux, right? So I'm going to submit my survey results here. One of the things you'll notice is the transparency. I have a lot of things showing transparency. Like Element doesn't. You can see here, if I'm hovering off of Element, it might go transparent. Like it doesn't. It looks like it doesn't. Yeah. What if I bring up another window though? Does it? Does it then? Yeah. So you can see it has like a slight transparency to everything. You can configure this, but I love it, right? So some things I actually leave transparency on even if I'm over it. Like this guy has transparency on it all the time. If I'm using Discord, it also has like a global transparency on it at all times. You can see, and I think it looks freaking cool, but it could bother people, right? I think it looks cool, but people might think that that's a problem. On some things, like a web browser, like if I have Firefox or something, I don't do that, right? I want to see stuff, but some things it's like okay to have a little bit of transparency, and that all you can configure it per app, but it's all in the command line. So pretty interesting. You can see the Steam hardware survey results, and I am probably on OS version, most popular Windows 10. Yeah, not me, bro. Not me right now. So this will be actually pretty interesting to look at the results. But let's talk about gaming. So gaming is a little weird. If I launch a game, it may work out of the box. Let's find out. I'm going to launch... Actually, Brotato, let's see, because sometimes you got to change the launch options to get things to run well. Boom. Okay, so we got it up. Is it running well? Let's find out. Well, it looks fine for me right now, but I will say this, okay? On my laptop running this game, it got a little weird, okay? It got a little bit weird because sometimes, and I can swap between stuff like this, right? Look, it's running on like window 1. Can I move it to 2? I did. So you see Steam's over here, and I have this over here. Ooh, look at that. I moved it. So now look, it's in a window. This is neat, right? So the compositor's doing all this. So I can, and then I can full screen it again. I can window it. I can drag it around. See that's kind of cool. This is something that the compositor is doing. But not all games will be happy to be moved around in this way. Like one of the games that literally will not run in a window or be happy is RimWorld, right? So like I had to run it through GameScope. So GameScope is like the Valve, I think Valve developed it, but it's what the Steam Deck uses as kind of a, it's like a window wrapper more or less for games. So I have like my desktop resolution here with height. You can just define all this. Like say you wanted it to run in like a 1920 by 1080 box, you could set that up. And I'm on an external display right now, so technically I'd want to do it like 1920 by 1080 or something. That would probably be the best way to launch RimWorld, but we're not gonna get into that. I do want to show you though what I've set up, which is the way I like to do it, because the problem is you'd have to do it per app. So like every app that you want to play, you're going to have to set launch options for, unless you run Steam itself in GameScope. And that's what I've been doing. So I have Steam GameScope. And oh yeah, I got to actually close Steam. That'd be good. So you can exit Steam. So if I close Steam, boom, now I can run Steam in GameScope. And it's not going to be the right resolution because it's, I'm using, I don't have it at a 16:9 aspect ratio. So it's going to be launching in the aspect ratio that my laptop uses, which is kind of like a 16:10, like I don't know what the Framework laptop aspect ratio is, but it's not 16:9. So that's weird. Like Steam didn't launch. Hold on, let me actually get it to close. Come on, leave me. And then Steam GameScope. Is it going to launch? There it is. So you can see it's in like this weird bubble. This is GameScope. And it is going to launch it in that kind of virtual display almost, right? And I love this. GameScope is so cool. So if I wanted, I could make this like a 1080p, a 4K box, whatever. It's like a virtual display. And I can, it's going to always be in that aspect ratio. You can see it did a really weird thing, which was scaled this up to like the whole screen size. Which really, it looks like it just broke it because that I think that ad straight up broke it. Yeah, I think so. So it has some quirks. I want to do it so it launches straight into Steam VR. Because let me try that again. Or not Steam VR, but Steam Big Picture Mode, because like I really do enjoy Steam Big Picture Mode. It's like using a Steam Deck, so it's basically like a fancy Steam Deck, right? So bam, I'm into Steam, the deal thing. I need to just disable the deal window because it looks like, okay, good, it worked this time. So there is some quirks and glitches. So if I launch like Brotato now, it's gonna launch, and it's gonna launch in this virtual display, which is set up for this laptop's display. So, bam. Now, what I could do is just close Steam altogether, and then now I can actually be like, well, what if I want, say I want to run a GameScope, but a GameScope like, let's just say 1080p, right? Because a lot of games on this little laptop aren't going to really be great. So then I'm like, okay, well, where are those apps stored, right? So they're going to be in my local, and they're going to be in a, I think they're in, and bear with me here. It's going to be in like local share applications. Okay. Now, oops. I actually did not mean to do that. I meant to CD local share applications. And you can also see that I used a ZSH instead of bash. And then these are all the little shortcuts, okay? And you can edit these. So for example, the Steam GameScope one, I'm going to actually make a copy of it. So I'm going to go Steam underscore GameScope, and I'm going to make a Steam underscore GameScope underscore 1080p. All right. And then, whoops, I meant to say CP. I don't know why I said SP. Copied it. Now I'm going to edit that. Steam GameScope 1080p. Now, here's the command that runs when this desktop entry gets ran. So I'm just going to change it to 1920 by 1080. Bam. Now, when I go into here and I say Steam, there should be more than one of them. Or, oh, you know what? I messed up. So I got to go back into there. All right, so I have to rename it, the title. So I'm going to say GameScope 1080p. Now I'm closing it. And now, when I do this, Steam, there's a Steam GameScope 1080p. And I can launch the Steam game scope in 1080p. I can hit this to full screen it. Although that's weird. It's not really doing it. You see that? Oh, there it goes. So I can hit Alt or Super F to full screen it. You see when I don't full screen it, the black bars show up. That's because it's still in a 1080p window, right? So bam. And now I can play a game. And actually what I would do in this case is just big picture mode, right? Bam. The only thing I need to figure out is sound. So right now the sound does not default to my HDMI or anything like that. So I got to figure out sound output and stuff. But yeah, like if I want to launch Brotato now, it's just going to launch in Game Scope. And I really want to figure out how to get the cool like FPS monitors and stuff that Game Scope can do. But now I'm literally playing Brotato in 1080p. And by the way, I've got controllers to work on this just fine over... I didn't get Bluetooth controllers to work though. Specifically, the one I'm using is like the 8-bit DO Ultimate controller, which shows up as a Switch Pro controller. I couldn't get it to show, like it paired on Bluetooth, but Steam would not detect it. So I was like, okay, what do I do? So I just used the 2.4 gigahertz dongle that it comes with, USB dongle, and then it worked just fine. A couple, but like I said, Vampire Survivors, like I was able to play these games, without issue. They seem to work fine. I mean, everything's good. The GPU acceleration is good. I don't have anything like really 3D hardcore that's installed that I can really show off, but Steam works. I mean, gaming this is like Steam Deck status at this point, right? Because I'm basically running in GameScope, it's basically like a Steam Deck. Like there's a couple things that I had issues working. For example, this game, I could not get this game to launch when I tried it before. I will try it now and see if it launches. I could not get this game to run. Maybe it's gonna run. Maybe I hadn't tried it in a while. My mouse is weird. My cursor is weird. Let me see if I can fix it. My cursor is stuck as this. There we go. Wait. No. Why is the resolution weird? Can I arrow key through this? Do you see that? The game resolution ran at like, it looks like the game tried to figure out the display's resolution and it didn't. It's like in a GameScope window, but it's like resized to fit inside of it. You can see it's kind of like, yeah, there's probably some weirdness, right? There's a little bit of weirdness that's going on here. And I can't click on stuff. So at this point, like I pretty much, can I bring up Steam Overlay? Which is Control Shift Tab, right? Nothing. So I think it's just borked. I wonder if I can like literally use a Windows command like Alt F4. No. So the only way to close this, and this is a problem, is like if I have this right here, like if I take this window and can I resize it real quick? So the problem with things is if I want to, I have to close it like completely, and that closed Steam, that closed everything, that closed GameScope and everything that was running in it. So it's really going to be game by game dependent on like how you run it. Do you run it through GameScope or not? Do you run it through Steam runtime, like normal Steam, and then you maybe you run like maybe you let Steam run normally, and then you you let Steam run normally, but then you let each game have its own parameters. My point is, you're going to have to tweak. You're going to have to tune. One thing I did notice about display scaling is fractional scaling makes things look like ass. For example, if I decide to scale the display to like different, like a different, like I'll show you real quick, right? So let's just give you an example. If I go to my config, which is in Hyperland and land.config. See these monitor configs? They include display scaling. So like this top one right now is my 1080p and it is at a 1x scale. Can I go half that? Like, is that possible? Yeah. So even though I'm on a 1080p screen, it's scaling at half that, which is kind of wild, right? That's like a 4K. Or if I want to go like 1.2, right? Make things big. You can see that the font is getting really blocky. I found that if you use GameScope, it'll actually do a like a bilinear kind of filter, and it doesn't look like this. This is one thing I cannot do is, unfortunately, on my main display, which is this guy, the laptop display, if I'm using fractional scaling, which you kind of want to do, the resolution's very high. If you're not, then it's gonna be if you're not using, if you're using like a 1-to-1 scale, you're fine. But if you're using fractional scaling, it just looks like ass in some instances like this. And so what I've gone to do is I'm just using full 1-to-1 scaling on everything, which is fine. The only thing I have to consider is, I just made things bigger, right? Like I made the way bar bigger by default. I made the fonts bigger by default. I just made everything bigger, that could be bigger. And that's been my approach. And I think it's fine. It looks great. It's crisp. Everything looks good. Firefox, some things are a little small, but for the most part, everything is great. But like I said, you do have to consider, okay, this is how you configure your monitors. There is no, in this desktop environment, which is Hyperland, this is what I'm dealing with, configs. But I'm okay with it. I'm literally okay with that because this is very usable. I find that I have apps installed for stuff. Like this one I had to install for my audio. I found that it looks like Tabs is still running. Hold on. Let me close Steam for real. It looks like it might still be running or something. Well, that's acting like it is. I don't know if it is. Let's look. So, let's just check. It is running. Look. So I don't know. I have no idea how to close it because you can't, I'm going to have to do like a kill all. So I don't know. That's a problem for me in a minute. But, but yeah, you can see desktop notifications pop up. But yeah, anyway, I had to edit my audio profile. There was some recommendation on this EQ, and I find it did improve the audio, but not by much. So yeah, I do have applications for stuff. The way you install stuff is interesting. Everything is done through the terminal. So if I want something, I could say sudo pacman -s, and then I'd say Discord, and then I would type it in, and it's not gonna find it, right? So sometimes that happens. So what I found is you can use something called a it's like a, I forget what they called it, a something helper, but it can find more stuff. And there's Yay, and then I use Paru. So it's basically the same thing as Pacman, but it's Paru -s, and then I can say Discord. And then it's gonna not find it. So I wonder if it's a different. Oh, okay. It's because I was using a capital D. So Pacman probably would have worked. This is the shit I'm dealing with here. See, it's on Pacman, but I pretty much always do Paru. Always look for stuff, and then I just say yes, and then it'll install it. And it does. So anything you're looking for, whatsoever. Like I did GIMP, I did. I'm trying to think if I had something I could install pretty quick, but let me just look at my phone. Actually, let's see if Obsidian's on there. So Obsidian, let's do lowercase Obsidian. Let's see if that is on there. Bam. Okay. And it's gonna, I'm gonna be like, yeah, go ahead. And then it's gonna pump, right? It's gonna, bam. And now if I want to launch Obsidian, I can just do one of these. Is it there? Bam. Obsidian. Done. And then I can log in and use Obsidian like normal. So that's literally how applications work. And if I want to remove one, I would just do this. and then it's going to say, do you want to remove it? And I'd say yes, and then be gone, but I want to keep it in this case. And that's literally adding and removing applications, and it couldn't get any simpler than that. Like, it's seriously very easy. Like, you know, for my case, if I kept hitting tab, it's going to give me, like, okay, a crazy-ass list of shit. I have no idea why, but that was everything. But yeah, like ZSH, that's how I got ZSH installed. I just installed it that way, and then I had to configure it. But that was pretty much it. So yeah, dude, this is pretty much Arch Linux in a nutshell, with Hyperland under Wayland. With the and another thing I had to set up is lock screens, dude. Lock screens are not something that just comes with it. Like, I literally had to get this set up, which is Hyperlock, and then I can type it in, and it's not going to work, so then I had to use my fingerprint. Bam. But this is what I'm talking about. Like, like everything's a little bit weird with how it's set up, but it's so full custom. Everything can't be taken for granted granted on on this. Like, you have to do everything. And people are not going to like that. I think it's awesome. I think that it makes me strong. It makes me smart to be able to figure this stuff out. I still got to figure out how to close totally the tabs because it is still running. So I got to figure out how to kill this. Oh, there it is. Terminate. Let's see if I can just terminate it. Look at this. Bam. Problem solved, dude. This is Task Manager. So I don't know why GameScope is still running. I thought I killed that too. Well, we're gonna get rid of that too. Boop. Kill. All right. Kill work. Terminate didn't work. Kill does. All right. But you get the point. This is the desktop environment, and there's other hotkeys I have, like the screen record and things like that. All right, guys, so that's pretty much been my review of the Framework 13 with Arch Linux installed. Very interesting device. I think it's been a crazy journey. You know, to get all this set up was a hell of a challenge, and it definitely stimulated the brain. I had to follow a lot of online documentation in the Arch Wiki. I had to do a little bit of Googling to see what was up. And yeah, it's pretty much been one hell of a ride, to say the least. I'm definitely going to find a use for this device in my daily life. I'm going to try and use it as my always in my bag device. And I'm going to see if I can use it throughout, you know, whatever I'm doing, right? Obviously, I have my gaming PC, and I'm going to use this as, you know, kind of a like a jack of all trades device that can kind of just always be in my bag and do cool stuff. Obviously, the MacBook is the better device on the whole, but if you want to embrace the free and open source nature of a device like this, the repairability of a device like this, being able to bust it open and swap parts out is really cool. Getting ready to upgrade parts later is really cool. You know, if I scratch the screen or something, if I could get I don't know how replacement screens work, but like just everything about this device is hella cool. And it's been one hell of an experience. And the customization is literally next level. You can do so much. If you look at the Unix porn subreddit, all that stuff is totally doable on a platform like this, and I think that is super fun, super cool. And if you know, would I encourage people to do it? For me, it's really about wrong way. I want to go this way. For me, it's about I can just move physically, but it's like it's embracing what this represents. This represents like right to repair. Right? Repairability, free and open source software, you know, sticking it to the man kind of status. And I love that about this. So I totally worth it. And while I'm here, I guess on the subject of the screen, It's actually very nice. It's not, I think it's like an IPS display, but it looks good. It looks good, especially for what I'm doing on it. I definitely think that OLED is way better. I definitely think that while it's pretty bright, it doesn't hold a candle to, like, you know, the MacBooks, right? Because they have HDR displays, 1600 nits, dude. I'm a brightness whore, and like they kill it. This is very bright though. Is it an OLED? I think it's brighter than the OLEDs get, but it's definitely not inky black like the OLEDs are. You know what I mean? Like, this is good. Don't get me wrong. It's just not. It's not the vibrant, beautiful displays we've been spoiled with. You know what I mean? It's still good. Don't get me wrong. And the resolution is very nice. I think it's a very sharp, high DPI resolution. So I enjoy it. So I think it's a great display. But anyway, that's been it. That's been my little mini review of the framework along with Arch Linux. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and I'm out of here.